Hi, everybody. My name is Sean Baker. I'm the co-writer and director of the film. Hi, thank you. The moderator and my two actresses aren't here yet, but they're on their way. Bad traffic coming downtown, so I'm just going to sit here and moderate myself, I guess. Anyway, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting our little film opening weekend. It means everything for the life of these independents. You know, A24 is such an incredible distributor, and they've been so supportive and wonderful to work with, and yet they need help too. We need help getting the word out there. If you liked the film, hopefully you did. Spread the word to your friends about keeping this opening weekend strong, and it's going to rolling out to other cities next weekend. So, yeah, okay. So I guess I'm just gonna ask for. Does anybody have any questions? I'll try to answer.
Hi. I wanted to ask you about your writing process. So I imagine that working with kids, it's hard to stay on script. So how, I guess, stringent were you with sticking to, certain beats, and how willing were you to be surprised on the set?
Well, we actually, my co-screenwriter and I, Chris Bergash, we had a full-length screenplay with dialogue and everything, except for about 5 scenes that we intentionally wrote in a way, such as the selling of the perfume scene, where it was like, we will shoot this in a candid camera style with a telephoto lens, allowing our actors to interact with real pedestrians and try to sell them perfume. Here are a few sample lines, and then asking asking Bria Vinaite and Little Brooklyn Prince to go and attempt this, and they were wonderful at it. With the kids, right over here is Samantha Kwan, who is the acting coach for the children, and she also worked. She worked very closely with Bria and Mela, who are on their way, because Bria was completely green. I cast her off of Instagram. And so, and Mela was in a wonderful short film, but had only done one short film before this, called Gang, which is on Vimeo. I highly suggest you check it out. It's wonderful. But the thing is that we intentionally cast, and during the audition process, we made sure that, and I was very lucky to have found actors with that gift of improvisation. So I encourage it on set, and sometimes I say, let's loosen it up. Oh, good. Ha. Bria Vinaite. That's Haley.
Sorry, I'm late.
Mentioned that I cast you on Instagram. Is Mela here yet? No, she's on her way? Okay. All right, great. So, and then we keep it loose on set. Sometimes if we had time, it was very, we had very limited hours with the children, and it was a tight shoot, but sometimes it gave me an opportunity to say, we've now have our scene down, the way it's scripted, let's go for one more take that's completely improvised or something like that. And then, of course, there are instances like the cranes, that was almost in the 3 cranes with Willem, interacting with the 3 cranes, in which it was almost an emergency. Like, we had to shoot it at that moment because we were told, don't approach the cranes, they're an endangered species, you'll be shut down. And I was like, before the line producer gets over here, roll the camera, Willem, go inside, come out and say anything. And he just came out and he improvised that wonderful moment, came up with the line about no harm, no foul. And my wonderful Steadicam artist, Ozzy Silvera, who actually came up from Miami, did a lot of work on Moonlight, did that really nice move into him, and I said, okay guys, we won't do another take, and we walked away. So yeah, do you want to talk about improving and just everything?
Okay. I feel like the scene that I improv'd on the most was definitely the pool scene with Mela. We didn't even really have scripted lines. We just kind of were in character, and we're talking about the kids and just kind of things we were going through. That scene was one of my favorite scenes to film. It was so much fun. And then...
See, it was wonderful that Bria actually, when we cast her, she said straight up front, I really want to do this, I'm enthusiastic, but I need some hand-holding, and Samantha came in, and we worked for about a month out from shooting, really workshopping and spending time. And Bria really got, and I think all of the cast got to a point where they understood their characters so much and understood the beats of the film. So, for example, when we rolled on that one shot in the pool, they knew to hit the topics of being a single parent, the food that Mooney was eating. And it just, that was what was so wonderful about my actors, is that they were so invested in their characters. And Willem was incredible, because you would think a Hollywood actor would just come in the day of and say, what do I do? I want to get out of here. But no, he came in a whole week early, met with some of the motel managers along Route 192, the guys who actually helped inspire the character of Bobby, spent the time to really understand the politics of what was going on in that area, and got his spray tan on and came to set one day with a list that said, here are my accessories. I want these glasses, this watch, this necklace. And he was really becoming, that Florida man that we needed him to become.
Hey, girl.
And here we go. Mela Murder as Ashley. And now I'm going to pass the mic over to Sam Roberts, who's moderating tonight.
Hey, who's ready to start the Q&A, huh?
Thank you so much.
So, well, my name's Sam Roberts. I'm here to moderate, but I guess the subject of the question and answer portion started moderating for me, which is...
We had one question. It was about the improv and the script and everything like that. Yeah.
Well, we actually we started. We were talking about. I think an interesting place to start, especially looking at this, was how the ladies got involved in the project, because I think something that made the film so unique was that it wasn't, from top to bottom, it really wasn't traditional in any sense. And so what was the story with,
well,
with
I
you
actually
guys
mentioned sorry, that I cast her off of Instagram,
Yeah.
and Mela from a
The
short.
short.
Yes. But
So one day,
Once upon a time.
I opened my DMs, and Sean was just like, hey, I want to tell you about a film opportunity. So he sent me an email. I read the email. We got on the phone, and I'd never acted before, but the project just seemed so special. And the first time I read the script, I cried. And I read a lot of books, and it's really hard for me to feel those sort of emotions just through reading words. And once I cried reading the script, I just knew it was such a special film and project, and I just really wanted to be a part of it. And I'm just so thankful for Sean and Sam for trusting me and for really helping me through this whole entire process, and for believing in me enough to give me such an opportunity.
I
Proud of
totally agree. Definitely, yes. I felt the same exact way once I read the script. It blew my mind that I had never heard of these families or this community. So learning about these people just made me feel compelled to tell their story in the most accurate, respectful way, and with Sean's great directing, and Sam right here, she's amazing. You carried us beautifully. If it wasn't for you, I don't know how I would have survived. So thank you. And yeah, it's a beautiful experience. It's all been so surreal, but the most important thing that we want all of you to take from this film is that these families actually exist. These people are real. There's real Haleys, real Moonies, and they need help. And we want you to do what you can. Any small gesture helps. It goes a long way. And hopefully with this, we can spread the awareness.
Well, yeah, and also during these Q&As, during interviews, we're trying to stress that this isn't just an issue of Orlando and Kissimmee. This is a national issue right next door in New Jersey, up north in Boston, Chicago, San Bernardino, the OC. Since the recession of '08, and even before that, when families can no longer, or individuals can no longer secure permanent housing for whatever reason, it doesn't always mean they're on the street. They are working, struggling. They're doing whatever they can do on a week-to-week basis, on a night-to-night basis, to keep a roof over their families' heads. And sometimes they're in budget motels, sometimes they're with families and friends, but they're technically homeless. And this is something that I certainly did not know about until my co-screenwriter brought this to my attention. And what we're trying to say is that, look, housing is a fundamental human right. And we would like, we just want, if you want to, obviously, it might be happening in your own communities. We're asking people to, to check out, go to the National Alliance to End Homelessness.org. And then there's also, if you want to focus on the Kissimmee, Orlando area, there's a wonderful organization, a nonprofit that directly provides social services to these families called the Community Hope Center, Hope 192. This is Route 192 that they're on. And they're trying to build a low-income, affordable housing complex on their property. So, you know, I don't mean to get too political tonight, but that's the message we're trying to get out with this film. This film is about creating an impact and having and raising awareness. So.
Yeah, let's hear it for that. So who else has questions for the cast and/or director? Yes, right there.
So often when you're dealing with children, it can feel like they just regurgitate lines. But Brooklyn clearly had a grasp on the script. When you're dealing with mature content like this, did you teach them about their circumstance, or did you utilize their naivete?
Thank you. Yes, Brooklyn. Well, first off, Brooklyn is on a whole other level. I mean, I think that she's a genius, and she, as far as her skills go, she is on the level. I put her in the same camp as a Mickey Rooney or Jodie Foster or the Fannings. I feel as if she has a long career ahead. She understands character. She understands. She's just a highly intelligent girl who also is skilled at comedic improvisation when we need her to be. Incredible. Now, regarding the adult content, basically everything but the profanity they were kept from, except for the fact they understood that this was about homelessness. So she understood that there are children who are living in these difficult circumstances, and I think that that's what got her to that place in that last scene. I'm just going to talk about the last scene, if you don't mind. Okay. We talked about with her parents, you know, about bringing tears that day. We had scripted it for tears. We didn't rehearse it because we didn't think that would be, just in case we got something like that in rehearsal and we weren't able to repeat it, I would be killing myself. So she came that day, and it was, she said, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. We said, okay, no pressure, but yeah, let's see what happens. We set up the camera behind little Valeria. And Valeria and Brooklyn became very good friends, almost best friends. And they're still best friends. And so on set, they would always be talking. And I was rolling camera, and a few seconds into this film magazine, and meaning the film was starting to go through the, you know. Sorry, guys. It's been lots of press and stuff. So I'm focusing on Brooklyn, and little Valeria says, "So are we gonna have a sleepover this weekend?" You know, she was just doing small talk, not in character herself. And Brooklyn goes, "Valeria, I'm going to have to concentrate right now. I'm about to cry, and I need to go to another place. So excuse me." I mean, like, so we were just like, "Whoa, okay." And then when it actually happened, I never get teary-eyed on my own sets, but this was one where I had Sam to my left and my wonderful DP, Alexis Abe, to my right, and we were just looking at each other saying, this is going to a whole other level. This is amazing. I let her get through the scene, although I wanted to yell cut, just because I couldn't bear it anymore. And then finally, she got her last line out, goodbye to her friend. I said, cut, and there was a swarm of 20 crew members all coming around, hugging her and going crazy. So it was just, I'm so proud of her. And it happened only a week and a half into our shooting. So it was like a big weight off our shoulders. We're like, wow, we're dealing with something. We have something really special with this little girl.
Wow. I can't believe there was only a week and a half into shooting. Like,
yes.
And that she
we
was
had to
mature enough to, like, because that was, you must have told her what a good job that she did. I feel like most little kids would be, like, trying to cry in every scene after that to try to repeat the praise. You know what I mean?
The incredible part is that I actually then had to set up a reverse shot that I ended up not even using in the film. But I said, you don't have to cry now. We don't see your face. Don't worry about it. You got it in the first take. We're not going to ask you to do that again. I yelled action, and she started crying again.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah. And then also, you know, probably people are wondering about the profanity. Yes, obviously that we had to address that issue with the parents. As soon as we cast the kids, the parents come into the back room of our casting agency and say, you know, we love your children. We want them to be in this film. It would be an honor to cast them. But you have to know one thing. They're going to not only be hearing profanity, but uttering it. And how are we going to deal with that, and if it's going to be okay? And so we spoke to them about the appropriate way of doing it. Sam worked with the parents, and we basically said, look, these are words that your characters are using, and they can only be used between my action and my cut, and it's going to be a respectful set. And this is, you know, these aren't words to be used in real life, and the kids got it. They were mature kids, and we also kept profanity away from set with the adults. Yeah, so.
It's good. Who else has questions? Yes.
How long has Mooney been acting? Brooklyn been acting?
Brooklyn has, well, when she's asked that question, she says 2 years old, because I think she had done some like print ads, but she had done commercials, and her mother is an actor and a coach herself, so she's actually, if you go to the airport, you'll probably, I don't know what airports, but you see her, she's the face of Orlando.org or something, so yeah.
But she didn't have to cry for that one, though, right? How do you ladies feel now that the film is done and it's being screened for big audiences and there's reviews and it's like a real thing, like this is life, and the work that you guys all worked on kind of quickly and intimately is now everybody's?
It's very emotional, and I'm really happy that I have Mela to go through this experience with, because we were like the only ones our age on set, and I feel like it was just such a new experience for both of us, and we've just been traveling so much, and being able to screen this movie in different places and having all these amazing reactions has just been a dream come true. I never would have thought we'd be here right now.
But also, I feel like with art, people shouldn't go into art with the expectation of it reaching a certain level. You just create to create because you love it. And when it reaches a level, it makes it all the more rewarding. So the fact that this happened just from us literally just being passionate with our craft, it's amazing. There's no words to describe this.
Who else has questions? Yes, way back there. I see you.
Thanks. You mentioned your co-writer and sort of how you initially learned about this world. I'm kind of curious for all of you what your experience was learning about this world and these families and how that came about.
So when we wanted to make this film before my previous film, I made a film called Tangerine before this, and thanks guys. And what happened was that we couldn't find financing for this one, so we went ahead and made Tangerine. It was a micro-budget film shot on an iPhone, but it actually ended up getting some attention and opening the doors. But so we've been looking into this since 2011, and after Tangerine, when it seemed like things were gonna, we were going to find finance, or we were getting financing for this, we revisited the area. We started taking our trips there again. We had CineReach, which is a wonderful nonprofit, give us a grant to start our trips and start our research. And when we got there, back in, I guess, 2013, we realized nothing had changed, and actually we had met kids Mooney's age who had grown up their entire lives in the budget motels. So we knew it was still timely. We knew it was still an important topic. At that point, we had started interviewing everybody. And there was this, I guess it was one moment. At first, we just thought it was going to be a mother-daughter story. It was one moment where we walked onto a property of a motel and to just, in a journalistic type way, approach people and ask questions. And that was where we met this one manager who really, in many ways, inspired the Bobby character. But what moved me so much about this gentleman is that he was dealing with, he was in a very hard, very difficult spot where he had obviously compassion and love for these families and really cared about what they were going through, and still had to keep a job, keep it professional, because he knew that at any moment he might be asked to evict one of these families, and literally they would be on the street that night walking up Route 192 with a shopping cart and their belongings. And so he had to keep a distance, yet he loved them. So it was sort of like this reluctant parental figure that we saw in many of these men, and this man in particular, who just opened up his heart and his world to us. And I thought that's so it's not just, the whole area was affected, and you see everybody struggling through this, and they're still dealing with the aftermath of a recession that is almost 10 years old. So to me, I think you have to look at the entire community and how everyone is affected and how everybody is truly working, including Disney, to help eradicate homelessness in this area. We're not pointing fingers here. We do, well, maybe at the federal government, because the federal government has to, start providing, backing state governments and local governments. But besides that, I think that it just shows that. I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but no, I felt that this is an important topic. It's still happening. It's still, there are still people living in this, and it's something that I think that I felt it just had to have a light shined upon. So, yeah.
How did you two familiarize yourself with the world to the extent that you could portray it?
Well, I was there 2-3 weeks early, and the classes that we were doing were on set of the Magic Castle. So I was spending a lot of time there, and I got to meet a lot of the women that live there, and they just really welcomed us with open arms, and really, they wanted the story portrayed right, and they really were willing to share their struggles and their day-to-day situations so we could really understand these characters. And I feel like getting to know them just really made me kind of understand where Haley comes from more, and really just made me respect her as a person, and just really not be judgmental of anybody's situation, because these people were also amazing. And we just did our Orlando premiere the other night, and I got to see some of them again, and it was their first time watching the film. And the one thing they said to me that I just really made me feel so good was that they felt like it was a very accurate portrayal of what's going on, and they felt like it was told very beautifully and correctly. And I'm just very happy that we got to do it the right way.
What about you, Mela?
I mean, it really just, it comes down to being a human being and having empathy, and you having a conversation with someone who's less fortunate than you, and you put yourself in that mind frame or that predicament mentally, and you're like, whoa, what would I do in that situation? How would I try to survive? How would I try to get to a better place to provide for myself or my family? And that's what we did. I mean, there's so many different elements of it. Haley's way is completely different from Ashley's way, and it still comes from a place of true care and true, getting into the survival aspect of it when you're dealt with the cards that you've been handled. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You have to make the most of it.
Yeah, and I think even like watching your character sell the perfume, like I had this like aha moment as I was watching where I had this thing like, okay, well that's what she does to make enough money for today, but it's just enough money for today, and it's this cycle of never being able to get ahead. Like you just can't get ahead, and I guess that's when the empathy kicked in for me, because all of a sudden it's this relatable thing where it's like I think any of us could see ourselves in a scenario where, what if you didn't have enough to put a down payment on or first and last month rent? Well, then you can't get an apartment, right? And then you're stuck in this scenario where maybe you're paying the same amount, but you're stuck not in a position where you can't get ahead.
And you have a child,
right?
And no family, and no friends, and no means of any help. It's tough.
Yeah. Who else has questions? Yes, way back.
So I just have a question about the last sequence in the film. And I was wondering about the decision of shooting that on an iPhone. Before seeing the movie, I knew there was a part shot on an iPhone, so I was waiting for it, and I'm curious about why you did that particular sequence.
A couple of different reasons. There was one that's an obvious reason. We had to shoot clandestinely to a certain degree. There's a reason why we couldn't be carrying around a 35mm camera. But we discussed it a lot, and the ending was always supposed to be up for interpretation. The ending actually means something slightly different to my co-screenwriter than it does to me. But what it comes down to is that we are trying to, obviously we are cutting to another perspective. And so we cut from 35 to an iPhone format when little Jancy grabs Mooney's hand. So perhaps it's up to you whether that's really happening or not, or whether we're really just using our imagination the way that these children do on a daily basis.
Thank you. It's never really mentioned whether or not Haley or Ashley have a backstory, like with their parents or the father of the kids or anything. I was wondering if you two, like as the actors, did you guys come up with a backstory for your characters?
Did.
You did?
Yeah, we did. We know exactly who we are, down to the T.
No, it's crazy. Sam, our acting teacher, had us do these exercises where we literally came up with the full backstory of our whole entire lives, from where we were born, our families, everything. And it was so funny because I feel like me and her like really knew these girls, like, and it was just really great. I feel like that backstory has helped us kind of really understand them and bring them to life in a clearer way.
At the same time, though, I didn't want to know how they saw their backstory, because of the way that we were shooting it. The audience certainly doesn't know, and I don't think it's important. And so, besides those little things of exposition that we put in, especially for her character, her having a record or something like that, everything, I never asked them to tell. I didn't want them to tell me how they envision their backstory.
I think we have time for one more question. So let's go to this gentleman in the back, toward in the corner there, with his hand up. Yeah.
I guess this is a question that I want to ask kind of everyone individually, which is, at the end, do you think that Mooney getting picked up by, it's not Child Protective Services, but I forget the...
DCF?
Yeah. Do you think that would be the better conclusion to this story, or is it a tragedy that she's being taken away from her mother, even though Haley isn't really capable of supporting her?
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know if they can answer if they want, but I actually think that is not the important part of it. Because, I have gotten reactions from audience members. Some of them are saying, Haley is the best mom ever. The love that she gave to her child, I wish I had that love from my mother, and this is a tragedy what's happening at the end. Another audience member will tell me, thank God DCF showed up and took her out of that situation. That's not the point. The point is about empathy. It's about looking at Haley's character and trying to maybe walk in her shoes for a moment and understanding how the circumstances. A 15-year-old who she probably had Mooney at 15. No parental support, no formal education. She's unemployable. She has a record. I mean, she's basically in survival mode, and it's about having empathy for somebody in that situation, no matter whether we agree with her parental skills or not. So that's my answer. I don't know if you guys want to.
I completely agree. Completely.
But thank you for asking that. We want to spark discussion. I mean, that's the part of the movie. So
Beyond what we've covered, is there any discussion that you think should be sparked, that you want people to leave here tonight and people who generally leave with?
I'll just say, we just if you like the movie, spread the word. We hope that audiences know that they are coming in here. And we wanted to present these issues in a digestible way. We wanted audiences to go back to the summers of their youth and to be laughing and having fun. We wanted to make Little Rascals 2017, but leave the audience thinking. And so spread the word if you liked it. That's basically all.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for buying your tickets and coming to a movie theater and supporting this movie, and thank all of you guys for doing this. This is amazing.